In the quiet community of Greer, South Carolina, the morning of October 13, 2021, began like any other. Residents went about their routines, unaware that their sense of security was about to be shattered. Inside her home in the Canebrake subdivision, 41-year-old Christina Parcell, a dedicated veterinary technician known for her vibrant personality and compassionate care, was brutally murdered. Her fiancé, Bradley Post, discovered her lifeless body later that morning. He immediately noticed a strong chemical odor permeating the house. As he moved through the home, he found Christina lying on her back in the living room, surrounded by rose petals. A chilling and deliberate detail that added an eerie layer to the crime scene. The brutality of the attack was staggering. Christina had been stabbed over 30 times in the head and neck. The presence of the rose petals suggested a personal connection, hinting that the killer wanted to leave a specific message or signature. This gruesome discovery sent shockwaves through the community and quickly attracted widespread media attention. As details emerged, the public became increasingly desperate for answers, eager to understand who could commit such a heinous act and why. On the morning of October 13, 2021, a quiet neighborhood in Greer, South Carolina, was jolted by a harrowing discovery. Christina Parcell, a 41-year-old veterinary technician, was found brutally murdered in her home. The unsettling scene was first encountered by her fiancé, Bradley Post, who immediately dialed 911, his voice laced with panic and disbelief. Responding officers were met with a crime scene that was both gruesome and meticulously arranged. Bloodstains marked the couch in the front sitting room, indicating where the initial assault occurred. Drag marks led from the couch to the hallway, suggesting that Christina's body had been moved post-attack. Most hauntingly, rose petals and wildflower stems were scattered around her, creating a chilling contrast between the violence inflicted and the delicate flora. A strong chemical odor permeated the house, adding another layer of mystery to the already perplexing scene. The deliberate placement of the rose petals raised immediate questions for investigators. Was this the signature of a ritualistic act, a personal message, or a manifestation of a twisted affection? The careful staging suggested that this was not a random act of violence, but one with deep personal motivations. As detectives began their work, the community was left grappling with the horrifying realization that such malevolence had struck so close to home. In the aftermath of Christina Parcell's brutal murder, investigators turned their attention to several individuals intertwined in her life, each presenting potential motives rooted in love, obsession, and betrayal. John Mello, the ex-partner. John Mello, a 63-year-old self-described music producer, shared a tumultuous history with Christina Parcell. Their relationship began in December 2008, leading to the birth of their daughter. However, by October 2015, the couple had separated, igniting a contentious custody battle over their child. This dispute escalated dramatically in October 2020 when Mello took their daughter to Italy without Parcell's consent, remaining abroad for nearly 6 months. During this period, Parcell and her family grew increasingly protective, fearing for the child's safety upon her return. The acrimony between Mello and Parcell intensified further when, prior to her death, explicit photographs of Parcell were mailed to her neighbors, an act of harassment for which Mello and his associate Zachary Hughes were later charged. Zachary Hughes, the concert pianist. Zachary Hughes, a 33-year-old Juilliard-trained pianist, was a close friend of John Mello. Despite having no direct personal relationship with Parcell, Hughes became entangled in the turmoil between Mello and Parcell. Investigations revealed that Hughes and Mello exchanged thousands of messages, many concerning Parcell. Hughes's involvement deepened when he participated in the dissemination of explicit images of Parcell, an act that prosecutors argued demonstrated a malicious intent towards her. This connection, combined with forensic evidence, led to Hughes being charged with Parcell's murder, harassment, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The unknown stalker. In the weeks leading up to her death, Christina Parcell confided in friends about a growing sense of being watched. She described instances of feeling followed and expressed increasing paranoia. This unease was compounded by the receipt of threatening communications and the distribution of explicit materials intended to tarnish her reputation. While these actions were later linked to Mello and Hughes, at the time the identity of the stalker remained unknown, adding to Parcell's distress and the complexity of the case. As the investigation unfolded, the intricate web of relationships and resentments among these individuals painted a chilling picture of how love and obsession can intertwine, leading to devastating betrayal. In the days leading up to Christina Parcell's tragic death, investigators uncovered critical evidence that began to shed light on the mystery surrounding her murder. Surveillance footage from a neighbor's Ring camera captured a man arriving on a bicycle and entering Parcell's home at 9:15 a.m. on October 13, 2021. Phone records revealed that Zachary Hughes, the accused, had multiple communications with John Mello, the father of Parcell's child, on the day of the murder. The crime scene presented a chilling signature: rose petals scattered around Parcell's body. This deliberate act drew investigators' attention to a previous unsolved case where a similar floral display was found, suggesting a possible connection between the two incidents. As detectives delved deeper, they discovered that Parcell had been embroiled in a contentious custody battle with John Mello. This dispute had escalated to the point where explicit photos of Parcell were mailed to her neighbors, an act traced back to both Mello and Hughes. These unsettling revelations began to piece together a narrative of obsession, betrayal, and a premeditated plan that culminated in the tragic loss of Christina Parcell. In the weeks following Christina Parcell's tragic death, the community was rife with speculation. The investigation took an unforeseen turn when authorities arrested Zachary David Hughes, a 29-year-old Juilliard-trained concert pianist. Hughes, known for his musical talents, was a close associate of John Mello, Parcell's ex-partner. This connection added a perplexing layer to the case, as Hughes was not previously considered a suspect. The motive behind this heinous act began to surface during the investigation. Evidence suggested that Hughes had become entangled in the contentious custody battle between Parcell and Mello over their young daughter. Prosecutors alleged that Hughes and Mello engaged in a campaign of harassment against Parcell and her fiancé Bradley Post in the months leading up to her death. This harassment included the dissemination of explicit photographs of Parcell to her neighbors, a malicious act intended to tarnish her reputation and possibly influence the custody proceedings. A significant breakthrough in the case came from forensic evidence. Surveillance footage captured Hughes entering Parcell's residence on the day of the murder. More damning was the discovery of Hughes's DNA under Parcell's fingernails, indicating a violent struggle between the two. Despite this compelling evidence, Hughes maintained his innocence, leading to a complex legal battle as the case proceeded to trial. The arrest of Zachary Hughes, a trusted acquaintance, shocked the community and added a disturbing twist to an already tragic story. As the legal proceedings unfolded, the true nature of the relationships and events leading up to Christina Parcell's untimely death came under intense scrutiny. In the hushed confines of the Greenville County Courthouse, the trial of Zachary Hughes unfolded with a gravity that gripped all in attendance. Accused of the brutal murder of Christina Parcell, Hughes faced a jury tasked with unraveling a complex web of relationships, forensic evidence, and conflicting narratives. The prosecution commenced by calling Bradley Post, Christina's fiancé, to the stand. Post recounted the harrowing discovery on October 13, 2021, when he found Christina's lifeless body in their Greer home. His voice trembled as he described the unsettling scene. Rose petals meticulously scattered around her, a detail that added a macabre touch to the tragedy. Post's testimony painted a vivid picture of their life together, emphasizing the love they shared and the future they had envisioned. He also shed light on the escalating tensions with Christina's ex-boyfriend John Mello, particularly concerning the contentious custody battle over their young daughter. This legal dispute had intensified in the months leading up to the murder, casting a shadow over their domestic life. Following Post, Tina Parcell, Christina's older sister, provided her perspective. She spoke of Christina's dedication as a mother and her distress over the ongoing custody battle. Tina recounted instances where Christina expressed fear for her safety, mentioning unexplained occurrences that had left her unsettled. Tina's testimony underscored the emotional toll the custody dispute had taken on Christina, portraying her as a woman besieged by external pressures and threat. The prosecution's case was bolstered by compelling forensic evidence. Tim Nafziger, a DNA technical leader for Greenville County Public Safety, presented findings that linked Hughes directly to the crime scene. Nafziger testified that DNA samples taken from a bicycle allegedly used during the homicide matched Hughes with a probability of 2 septillion to 1. Additionally, male DNA found under Christina's fingernails was 825 million times more likely to belong to Hughes than to an unrelated individual. This genetic evidence suggested a violent struggle between the victim and her assailant, placing Hughes at the scene during the time of the murder. Further forensic analysis detailed the presence of rose petals and wildflower stems throughout the crime scene. Photographs introduced into evidence depicted a trail of petals leading from the front sitting room, where bloodstains indicated the initial attack occurred, to the hallway where Christina's body was ultimately found. This deliberate arrangement suggested a symbolic or ritualistic element to the crime, adding a layer of psychological complexity to the case. In response, the defense sought to introduce evidence pertaining to unrelated criminal charges against Post, specifically allegations involving child exploitation materials. However, Judge Patrick Fant III ruled this information inadmissible, determining it irrelevant to the murder trial and potentially prejudicial. This decision limited the defense's ability to shift suspicion away from Hughes by casting aspersions on Post's character. Benefiting from this setback, the defense posited an alternative theory: that John Mello, motivated by the acrimonious custody battle, had orchestrated the murder to regain full custody of his daughter. They highlighted Mello's previous attempts to undermine Christina's parental rights, including a contentious incident where he took their daughter to Italy without Christina's consent. The defense argued that Mello had both the motive and the resources to carry out such a crime, suggesting that Hughes was being used as a scapegoat. To further cast doubt, the defense scrutinized the prosecution's forensic evidence. They questioned the chain of custody for the DNA samples, suggesting potential contamination or mishandling. Defense attorneys argued that the presence of Hughes's DNA could be innocuous, perhaps resulting from secondary transfer, and did not irrefutably place him at the scene during the murder. This line of questioning aimed to undermine the reliability of the forensic evidence that was central to the prosecution's case. A tapestry of deception. As the trial progressed, the jury was presented with a complex interplay of personal relationships, legal disputes, and forensic science. The prosecution depicted Hughes as a man driven by obsession and jealousy, who meticulously planned and executed a heinous act. In contrast, the defense portrayed him as an innocent individual ensnared in a plot orchestrated by a vengeful ex-partner seeking to eliminate Christina and frame Hughes. The courtroom became a battleground of narratives, each side weaving a story of lies and deception. Jurors were tasked with sifting through the emotional testimonies, scientific data, and legal arguments to discern the truth. The presence of rose petals at the crime scene remained a haunting symbol, their significance debated but never fully understood, adding an enigmatic element to the proceedings. As the trial neared its conclusion, the weight of the evidence and the credibility of the witnesses loomed large over the jury's deliberations. The verdict would hinge on their ability to navigate the intricate web of lies and deception, to find clarity amidst the chaos, and to deliver justice for Christina Parcell. As the trial of Zachary Hughes for the murder of Christina Parcell drew to a close, the atmosphere in the Greenville County Courthouse was charged with anticipation. The jury had listened intently to weeks of testimony, and now their deliberations would determine Hughes's fate. Christina Parcell, a 41-year-old veterinary technician, was found brutally murdered in her Greer, South Carolina home on October 13, 2021. Her fiancé, Bradley Post, discovered her body surrounded by rose petals, with a pervasive chemical odor lingering in the air. The gruesome scene shocked the community and set off a complex investigation. Zachary Hughes, a classically trained concert pianist and best friend of Parcell's ex-husband, was arrested and charged with her murder. The prosecution presented a case built on circumstantial evidence, including DNA findings and eyewitness accounts. A key witness, neighbor Donna Gorman, testified seeing a man dressed in black with a white mask near Parcell's home on the morning of the murder. She identified Hughes as the man she saw. The defense challenged the reliability of the DNA evidence and questioned the thoroughness of the investigation. They argued that the prosecution had not met the burden of proof required for a conviction. After closing arguments, the jury retired to deliberate. The community, along with Parcell's family and friends, waited anxiously for the verdict. The case had garnered significant media attention, and the outcome was highly anticipated. Finally, the jury returned with their decision. Zachary Hughes was found guilty of the murder of Christina Parcell. The verdict brought a sense of closure to some, while others continued to grapple with lingering questions about the case. The haunting elements of the crime, the rose petals, the betrayal, and Christina's tragic fate remain etched in the community's memory. The trial of Zachary David Hughes for the murder of Christina Parcell has come to an end, but the echoes of this case will linger for years to come. It was a crime that began with a calculated act of violence, wrapped in an eerie display of rose petals, and unraveled through a painstaking investigation that exposed betrayal, obsession, and a chilling descent into darkness. For Christina's loved ones, the verdict, whether it brought justice or left lingering doubts, marks the closing of a painful chapter. But for the public, this case serves as a stark reminder of the hidden dangers that can lurk behind familiar faces. At the heart of this case was the disturbing realization that Christina's killer wasn't a stranger, nor was this an act of random violence. Instead, it was premeditated, personal, and deeply rooted in a tangled web of past relationships, unspoken resentment, and a desire for control. From the moment Christina was found, investigators knew they weren't dealing with a typical crime of passion. The methodical staging of the scene, the deliberate arrangement of rose petals, and the lack of forced entry all pointed to someone who knew her well, someone who had access to her life and used that familiarity against her. As details emerged, the investigation pulled back the curtain on a deeply troubling reality. Obsession can often disguise itself as love, and jealousy can push people to unthinkable extremes. Christina's story became yet another tragic example of how seemingly ordinary relationships can spiral into something far more dangerous. Throughout the courtroom proceedings, there were moments that left the audience stunned. Testimonies from forensic experts painted a clear picture of how Christina's final moments unfolded. The defense, desperate to create doubt, attempted to redirect the narrative, but in the end, the overwhelming evidence left little room for speculation. The use of forensic technology played a crucial role in sealing the case. DNA found on the rose petals, security footage placing Zachary David Hughes near Christina's home, and digital records exposing unsettling communications between them all pointed to a chilling premeditation. This wasn't an act of blind rage. It was something far more calculated. Perhaps one of the most disturbing revelations was how John Mello had manipulated those around him, maintaining a double life that hid his darker tendencies. To some, he was a friend, to others, a jealous ex-lover who couldn't let go. But to Christina, in her final moments, he became something far worse. As the trial reached its conclusion, many were left with lingering questions. Could this tragedy have been prevented? Were there signs that Christina or those close to her might have missed? And how often do cases like this slip through the cracks before it's too late? This case forces us to confront a harsh reality. Not all threats come from the shadows. Sometimes they exist in plain sight, disguised by familiarity and the illusion of trust. Christina's murder underscores the importance of recognizing the warning signs of obsessive and controlling behavior. Signs that, when ignored, can escalate into something far more dangerous. Beyond that, this case also highlights the power of forensic science in uncovering the truth. Without the meticulous work of investigators, the evidence might never have come together as it did. The use of DNA analysis, digital tracking, and behavioral profiling ultimately pieced together a crime that was designed to mislead. For Christina's family, justice, if truly served, doesn't erase the loss. It doesn't bring her back, nor does it heal the deep wound left behind. No verdict can undo the fear, the pain, or the trauma that this case has inflicted. But what justice does provide is accountability, a recognition that Christina's life mattered, that her story deserved to be told, and that the person responsible for her death would not walk free. Even with a conviction, some questions will remain unanswered. Why did Hughes choose this method? Why the rose petals? Was it a symbol of something personal? A final attempt at control? Or was it simply a cruel and calculated gesture meant to taunt investigators? Some believe that we may never fully understand the mind of someone capable of such a crime. Others argue that there are always warning signs, clues that, when pieced together, reveal a mind teetering on the edge of violence. As we close the chapter on this case, one thing is certain. Christina Parcell was more than a victim. She was a daughter, a friend, a dedicated professional, and a person whose life was stolen far too soon. Her story should serve as a lesson not just about crime and justice, but about the real dangers that can exist within personal relationships. We often believe we'd recognize danger if it was close to us, but this case, like so many others, proves that threats can sometimes wear a familiar face. For anyone watching this, if there's one takeaway, let it be this: trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, if a relationship becomes controlling, if someone's behavior shifts into dangerous territory, take it seriously, speak out, seek help. Because as we've seen time and time again, tragedies like this don't happen overnight. They build up, slowly, until one day, it's too late. Christina's story didn't have to end this way, but by remembering her, by learning from her case, we can work toward preventing similar tragedies in the future. This was the Rose Petal murder, a crime that shocked a community, captivated the nation, and left behind a chilling reminder of the dangers that sometimes lie just beneath the surface. But what do you think? Was justice truly served, or do unanswered questions remain? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this case as chilling as we did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more true crime stories that uncover the truth behind the most haunting cases. Hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay aware, stay safe, and question everything.